Sir, you need to check the balcony. Your wife,
She's with someone.
Jean Woo's hand tightens around his champagne glass the moment the waitress leans in. Her voice barely rises above a whisper, urgent and laced with something that sounds like fear. Sir, you need to check the balcony. Your wife, she's with someone. The crystal stem nearly shatters under his grip. Around him, Seoul's elite continue their practice conversations, oblivious to the way his entire world just tilted sideways. The charity gala hums with polite laughter and the soft clink of expensive silverware against imported china. Nobody notices when the most dangerous man in the room goes perfectly still. What did you say? His voice drops to that particular register his associates have learned to fear. Quiet, controlled, lethal. She swallows hard, eyes darting toward the French doors at the far end of the ballroom. The balcony, sir. There are men with her. I thought you should. He's already moving before she finishes. The glass finds a passing tray. His expression remains pleasant, practiced, the mask he wears at these events settling firmly into place. But underneath his tailored Tom Ford jacket, his fingers brush against cold metal. The gun rests exactly where it always does. A familiar weight that saved his life more times than he can count. Excuse MES and polite nods carry him through the crowd. His wife had insisted they attend tonight, had spent weeks coordinating her dress with his tie, practicing her smile for the photographers. She'd been radiant when they arrived, her hand warm in his as flashbulbs exploded around them. The city's power couple, Beauty and the Beast. How poetic that it ends on a balcony. The French doors loom ahead. Through the glass, he catches movement, shadows shifting against the Seoul skyline. His heart hammers against his ribs, but his hands remain steady. Years of violence have taught him that much. Feel everything later. Right now, there's only the next 60 seconds. He pushes through. Cold November air hits him first, carrying the scent of the Han River and something else. Fear. Real, tangible fear. His wife stands in the center of the balcony, surrounded by 3 men in dark suits. Decorations lay scattered across the marble floor. What looks like balloons, ribbons, an overturned table. Something was being set up here. Something that's now destroyed. Then one of the men shoves her. She stumbles backward, arms windmilling, and something inside Jean Woo's chest simply detonates. There's no thought, no calculation, no careful consideration of consequences. Just pure, incandescent rage that turns his vision into a red-tinged tunnel with only one objective: destroy the threat. He crosses the distance in 4 strides. The first man doesn't even register his presence before Jean Woo's hand locks around his throat, lifting him onto his toes. The other 2 spin toward him, hands reaching for. What? Weapons. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except the feeling of a windpipe collapsing under his grip. The satisfying choke of a man who dared put his hands on. Jean Woo, wait. Her voice cuts through the haze. His wife, his beautiful wife with her torn dress and mascara streaking down her cheeks, is screaming at him. Not in fear of the men. In fear of him. Wait. They put their fucking hands on you. His fist draws back, aimed at the man's face. 1 punch. That's all it would take. 1 punch, and then he moves to the next, and the next until... It's your birthday surprise. Pause for a second. If you're enjoying this story so far, drop a like and subscribe. Also drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now back to the story. Time fractures. His fist freezes mid-swing, hovering inches from destroying someone's face. The man in his grip makes a strangled sound that might be words. Around them, the city glitters indifferently. A million lights that couldn't care less about violence on a balcony. My what? Tears stream down her face as words tumble out in a desperate rush. I planned a surprise party for you. Up here. These men, they crashed it. When I tried to make them leave, they started harassing me, destroying everything, and I... The man he's holding finally gasps out coherent speech. We're event coordinators. She hired us. Jean Woo's grip doesn't loosen. If anything, his fingers tighten. You hired men who shove women? That's the thing. The man's voice comes out choked, professional despite the hand crushing his throat. We didn't crash anything. We were supposed to. The whole harassment scene. It was part of the surprise. Silence. Even the city seems to hold its breath. It was a test, his wife whispers. Her eyes meet his, and in them he sees something that makes his blood run colder than any threat ever could. Doubt. I wanted to know if you'd protect me. If the cold mafia boss I married actually cared enough to. He drops the man. The coordinator stumbles backward, gasping, while Jin-woo stands perfectly still in the center of the balcony. Betrayal floods through his system, bitter and corrosive. Not the betrayal of infidelity, that he could understand, could fight against. This is worse. She made him feel fear. Real, genuine terror that something had happened to her. Then she made him look like a fool. You wanted to know if I cared. His voice comes out so quiet she has to lean forward to hear it. Around them, the three coordinators exchange nervous glances, probably wondering if their hazard pay covers Mafia boss mental breakdowns. You staged an entire scenario, hired actors, manipulated me into revealing my worst instincts in front of strangers. All because you needed proof. Jin-woo, you just showed me you don't trust a single thing I've given you. He turns. The French doors await, warm light spilling from the ballroom beyond. Inside, people are still laughing, still drinking, still pretending their lives have meaning beyond the next social engagement. His world just collapsed, but there's spins on. Where are you going? Her voice breaks on the last word. Away from someone who thinks love needs to be tested. The penthouse feels like a mausoleum when he finally returns home at 3 a.m. Jin-woo doesn't bother with the lights. Darkness suits him better right now, matches the hollow feeling that's taken up residence in his chest. He pours whiskey, 18-year-old Macallan that tastes like ash, and stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Somewhere out there, his wife is probably still at the gala. Or maybe she left. He doesn't know. Doesn't care. That's a lie. He cares too much, and that's the problem. His phone buzzes. 12 messages, all from her. He doesn't read them. Morning arrives with the subtlety of a sledgehammer, bright, unforgiving sunlight that exposes every corner of the empty penthouse. She never came home. Good. He's not ready to see her face, not ready to hear whatever explanation she's crafted in the hours since he walked away. Work provides escape. It always has. By 8 a.m., he's in his office at the company headquarters, the legitimate front that launders his less legitimate enterprises. His assistant knows better than to ask about the charity gala. One look at his face, and she simply nods, placing his coffee on the desk with practiced efficiency. Clear my morning schedule, he says. Already done, sir. Mr. Park called 3 times. He says it's urgent. Park, his right hand, the man who's helped him build an empire on the backs of Seoul's underworld. If Park says urgent, it actually means urgent. The call connects on the first ring. We have a problem with the Busan shipment. Jin-woo closes his eyes. How bad? Bad enough that I need you here. Now. 3 hours later, he's in a warehouse near the docks, surrounded by men who'd kill for him without hesitation. The problem with the shipment gets resolved through a combination of threats and strategic violence. By the time he leaves, his knuckles are bruised and there's blood on his collar that isn't his. This is who he is. This is the man his wife married. Did she really think he wouldn't protect her? The question haunts him through the rest of the day, through another sleepless night in the empty penthouse, through morning meetings where he signs documents without reading them. His associates notice the change, but stay silent. Nobody questions why the boss suddenly seems determined to drown himself in work. On the 3rd day, Min-jun corners him in the parking garage. His younger brother, the only family he has left, leans against Jin-woo's Mercedes with his arms crossed. You look like death. Thanks for the observation. What happened at the gala? The rumors are. I don't care about rumors. Jin-woo unlocks the car, but Min-jun doesn't move. She's been calling me. Crying. Says you won't answer her messages. Something twists in his gut. Did she tell you what she did? She told me everything. Min-jun's expression softens, which somehow makes it worse. Look, what she did was stupid. Unbelievably stupid. But nothing. She tested me like I'm some kind of experiment. Like 7 years of marriage means nothing. Maybe that's exactly why she did it. His brother pushes off the car, stepping into his space. You know what people say about you, Hyung? They say you're incapable of love. That you married her for appearances, for legitimacy. The Ice King who can kill without blinking but can't feel anything real. Jin-woo's jaw tightens. I know what they say. So maybe she hears those whispers too. Maybe she hears them so often that she starts wondering if they're true. If the man she married is capable of caring about anything beyond his empire. She should know better. Should she? When was the last time you told her you loved her? The question lands like a physical blow. When was the last time you showed her anything beyond expensive gifts and polite distance? You keep her in this perfect glass case, give her everything money can buy, but you never let her see what's underneath. Can you really blame her for wondering if there's anything there at all? The words hit too close to home. Jin-woo gets in the car without answering, and Min-jun is smart enough not to follow. But the question lingers. When was the last time? He drives without destination, ending up at the Han River. Couples walk along the waterfront, holding hands, laughing. Normal people with normal problems. He envies them in a way that feels pathetic. His phone rings. Not her this time. One of his informants. Boss, you asked me to track any unusual activity around your wife. Jin-woo sits up straighter. What did you find? She's been meeting with someone. A therapist, I think. 3 times this week, always late at night. Looks like she's paying cash to keep it off the books. A therapist. His wife has been seeing a therapist, and he had no idea. The realization hits him like ice water. How long has she been struggling? How long has she been carrying doubts and fears while he buried himself in spreadsheets and territorial disputes? Keep monitoring, but don't interfere. Understood, boss. He ends the call and stares at his reflection in the rearview mirror. The man looking back is exhausted, hollow-eyed, harder than he remembers being. When did he become this? When did protecting himself mean building walls so high that even his wife couldn't scale them? The test wasn't about his love. It was about her fear. Fear that she'd married a ghost, a man who moves through life without ever truly being present. Fear that he'd choose his reputation, his empire, his carefully constructed Ice King persona over her. And he proved her right by walking away. The thought makes him sick. He reaches for his phone, pulls up her messages. 15 now, each one shorter than the last. The most recent is just 3 words. Please come home. His thumb hovers over the screen. He doesn't go home. Instead, Jin-woo finds himself parked outside a building in Gangnam at 11 p.m., watching the 5th-floor windows. His informant's intel was precise. His wife exits 20 minutes later, pulling her coat tight against the November cold. She looks smaller somehow, more fragile than the confident woman who walked into that gala 4 days ago. She doesn't see him, doesn't know he's there as she climbs into a taxi and disappears into Seoul's neon-lit sprawl. The therapist's office goes dark 30 minutes later. Jin-woo sits in silence, engine off, trying to understand how everything went so wrong. 7 years. They've been married 7 years, and somehow they've become strangers who share a bed but not their fears. His phone buzzes. Park again. The Incheon deal closes tomorrow. Need you sharp. I'll be there. You sure? Because you haven't been yourself lately, and these Russians don't do second chances. Jin-woo's grip tightens on the steering wheel. I said I'll be there. The call ends. Work. Always work. It's easier than dealing with the mess his personal life has become. Easier than admitting Min-jun was right. He's built an empire on fear and respect, carved out territory through calculated violence and strategic marriages, including his own. Except it stopped being strategic somewhere along the way. He just never told her that. The Incheon meeting consumes the next day. 12 hours of negotiation with Russians who smile like sharks and carry enough firepower to start a small war. Jin-woo navigates it flawlessly, his reputation preceding him. The Ice King who never flinches, never hesitates. By the time papers are signed and vodka is poured, he's secured a distribution network that will double their income. His associates celebrate. He feels nothing. Boss, you good? Park asks as they leave the warehouse. Fine. You closed a $40 million deal, and you look like you're at a funeral. Jin-woo doesn't answer. What can he say? That money means nothing when he goes home to empty rooms? That power feels hollow when the only person whose opinion matters thinks he's incapable of genuine emotion? His phone rings. Unknown number. He almost ignores it, but something makes him answer. Mr. Kong. A woman's voice, professional, unfamiliar. This is Dr. Lee Minesio. I'm a therapist, and I have your wife as a client. Every muscle in his body goes rigid. How did you get this number? Your wife gave it to me, with permission to call if I felt it was necessary. A pause. I think we need to talk. In person if you're willing. I don't do therapy. This isn't therapy, Mr. Kong. This is me telling you that your wife is in pain, and you're the only one who can do something about it. Her voice softens slightly. She didn't want me to call, but I've been doing this for 15 years, and I know when someone is at a breaking point. She's there. The words hit him like a physical blow. What do you mean, breaking point? I mean she's questioning everything. Her marriage, her worth. Whether she made a mistake marrying into a world she doesn't understand. The test at the gala? That was a desperate woman trying to find proof that she matters to you. She matters. The words come out harsh, defensive. Then why doesn't she believe it? Dr. Lee's question hangs in the air. I'm at my office now. Come talk to me, or don't. But stop punishing her for being scared of losing you. The call ends. Jin-woo sits in his car outside the warehouse, surrounded by his men, his empire, everything he's built. None of it feels real. The only real thing is the growing certainty that he's losing the one person who actually matters. Park knocks on the window. We're heading to the club. You coming? No. I have somewhere to be. 40 minutes later, he's sitting across from Dr. Lee in her office. She's younger than he expected, sharp-eyed, unintimidated by the man whose reputation makes hardened criminals nervous. Your wife talks about you constantly, she begins. About how brilliant you are, how you built something from nothing, how you carry yourself with absolute certainty. She's in awe of you. She has a strange way of showing it. She's also terrified of you. The words land like stones. Not physically. She knows you'd never hurt her. But emotionally, she feels like she's married to a fortress. Impenetrable. Unreachable. Jin-woo's hands clench. I give her everything. Everything except yourself. Dr. Lee leans forward. Money, safety, status, those are things. She doesn't doubt your ability to provide. She doubts whether you need her at all. Whether losing her would even register beyond inconvenience. That's insane. Is it? When was the last time you were vulnerable with her? When did you last tell her you were scared or hurt or uncertain? When did you last need her for anything? The questions pile up, each one exposing cracks in his carefully constructed armor. He wants to argue, to defend himself, but the truth is suffocating. He's spent 7 years being invincible around her. The perfect husband on paper, generous, protective, faithful. But he's never let her see the parts of himself that actually feel. The test was cruel, Dr. Lee continues. I told her that. But it came from a place of desperation. She was trying to manufacture a crisis because that's the only time she's seen you react with genuine emotion, when something threatens what's yours. She's not a possession. Then stop treating your marriage like a business arrangement. Her gaze doesn't waver. Go home, Mr. Kong. Have an actual conversation with your wife. Not about what she did wrong, but about why you both ended up here. Jin-woo stands. The office suddenly feels too small, too claustrophobic. One more thing, Dr. Lee says as he reaches the door. She thinks you walked away because you don't love her. Prove her wrong. The penthouse is dark when he arrives, but he knows she's there. Her shoes by the door, her coat draped over the chair. Small signs of life in a space that's felt like a tomb for days. He finds her in the bedroom, sitting by the window with her knees pulled to her chest. She doesn't turn when he enters, just stares at the city lights below. I didn't think you'd come back, she says quietly. Jin-woo stops in the doorway, suddenly uncertain. He's faced down rivals with guns and negotiated with men who'd kill him without hesitation. But this, talking to his own wife, feels impossible. I've been driving around for hours, he admits, trying to figure out what to say. Did you figure it out? No. She laughs, but there's no humor in it. At least you're honest about something. The barb hits its mark. He deserves it, probably deserves worse. But instead of retreating into cold silence like he normally would, he forces himself to stay present, to actually engage. I talked to your therapist. Now she does turn, eyes wide. Dr. Lee called you? She was worried. Said you were at a breaking point. He moves into the room, keeping distance between them. Are you? Her face crumples. I don't know anymore. I don't know anything except that I ruined everything with that stupid test, and now you can't even look at me. I'm looking at you right now. You know what I mean. She wipes her eyes roughly. You're here physically, but you're not really here. You never are. The accusation stings because it's true. He sits on the edge of the bed, far enough that they're not touching, but close enough to feel the weight of 7 years between them. I walked away at the gala because I was angry, he starts, choosing words carefully. Not just about the test, about what it represented. That I don't trust you. That you were right not to. The admission costs him, but it's the truth. You married someone who keeps everything locked down, who treats emotions like weakness. Dr. Lee asked me when I was last vulnerable with you, and I couldn't answer. I don't know how to be that person. She's crying now, silently, tears tracking down her face. I shouldn't have tested you. It was manipulative and cruel, and I knew it was wrong even while I was planning it. But I was so desperate to see something real from you. Anything that proved I'm more than just another asset in your portfolio. You think that's what you are to me. What else am I supposed to think? Her voice rises, frustration bleeding through. We have dinner parties where you introduce me as your wife, and we attend galas where we smile for cameras, and we sleep in the same bed, but I don't know you. Not really. You don't let me in. Jinwoo's jaw tightens. Everything in him wants to shut down, to retreat behind the walls that have protected him his entire life. But Dr. Lee's words echo, prove her wrong. I was 17 when my father was killed, he says quietly. She goes still, listening. Shot outside a restaurant in Itaewon over a territory dispute. Minjun was 12. We watched it happen. He's never told her this part. Never explained how he went from scared kid to Seoul's most feared man. Everyone told me to cry, to grieve, to feel something. But I couldn't. Every emotion felt like a liability, like something that could get me or my brother killed. So I shut it all down. Built walls. Made myself into someone nobody could hurt because I wouldn't let them close enough to try. His hands clench into fists. That worked in my world. Fear and respect, that's the currency I understand. But with you? I didn't know how to be different. How to be soft when I've spent 20 years being hard. She moves closer, hesitantly. You could have told me this. And say what? That I'm fundamentally broken? That I married you because you were the first person who made me feel something, but I had no idea how to show it. Yes. Her hand finds his. That's exactly what you should have said. I would have understood. I would have worked with you. He looks at their joined hands, her delicate fingers intertwined with his scarred ones. When that waitress told me you were with someone on the balcony, I felt terror. Actual, genuine terror. Not for my safety or my reputation, for you. The thought of losing you made everything else meaningless. Then why did you leave? Because in that moment, when you revealed it was a test, I felt something worse than fear. His voice drops. I felt inadequate. Like even my most honest reaction wasn't enough. Like I'd failed at the one thing that actually mattered. She squeezes his hand. You didn't fail. You did exactly what I hoped you'd do. You protected me without hesitation. But then I ruined it by telling you it wasn't real. It made me question everything. If you needed to manufacture a crisis to see me care, what did that say about our marriage? About me as a husband? It said I was insecure and stupid. She wipes her eyes again. Not that you didn't care. I know you care, I've always known. I just got scared that caring and loving were different things for you. Silence settles between them. Outside, Seoul continues its endless rhythm. Millions of lives intersecting and diverging. I don't know how to fix this, Jinwoo finally says. I don't know how to be what you need. I don't need you to be different. Her voice is soft but firm. I just need you to let me see you. The real you, not the ice king everyone else sees. What if that's who I really am? It's not. I saw proof of that on the balcony, even if it was under false pretenses. That rage, that fear, that desperation, that was real. Jinwoo stands, needing movement. He walks to the window where she'd been sitting, staring out at the city he controls through violence and calculated strategy. From up here, it all looks peaceful. Beautiful, even. You want to know something I've never told anyone? He doesn't look at her. I wake up every morning terrified. Behind him, she inhales sharply. Of what? That it'll be the day I lose everything. My empire, my brother, you. His reflection in the glass shows a man who looks older than 37. Every decision I make, every deal I close, every threat I neutralize, it's all about control. Because if I can control everything, maybe I can prevent the loss. That's exhausting. It's the only way I know. He turns to face her. When I married you, I thought I could control that too. Keep you safe in this perfect bubble where nothing bad could touch you. Give you everything you needed, so you'd never have reason to leave. But you can't control feelings. She stands, moving closer. Mine or yours? I'm starting to understand that. His throat tightens. The test you set up, it worked, just not how you intended. You proved I'd protect you. But you also proved that my worst fear isn't dying. It's failing you and not even realizing it until it's too late. She reaches up, touching his face. He flinches instinctively, then forces himself to stay still, to accept comfort instead of rejecting it. I failed you too, she whispers. I let fear turn me into someone who manipulates instead of communicates. Someone who tests love instead of trusting it. Why didn't you just ask me? Because I was afraid of the answer. Tears spill over again. What if I asked, do you love me? And you said yes, but I could see in your eyes that you were just saying what I wanted to hear. At least with the test, I'd see the truth. And what truth did you see? That you'd burn the world down for me. That underneath all that control, there's something wild and protective and real. She steps closer, closing the distance. But also that I hurt you. Deeply. In a way I didn't think was possible. Jin Woo's defenses are crumbling. Walls he's maintained for 20 years developing cracks. I don't know how to do this. How to be vulnerable without feeling like I'm exposing myself to attack. Then we learn together. Her hands frame his face. No more tests. No more silence. Just honesty, even when it's terrifying. I'm not good at terrifying in this way. You're doing fine so far. A small smile breaks through her tears. You've told me more in the last 10 minutes than you have in months. He wants to pull away, to retreat to safety. Instead, he forces himself to take the next step. When you didn't come home those first 2 nights, I thought you'd left. And I deserved it. I knew I deserved it. But the thought of waking up every morning without you here made me understand something. What? That I don't just care about you. I need you. The words feel like confession, like weakness. Not for appearances or legitimacy or any of the rational reasons I told myself when we got married. I need you because you're the only person who makes any of this mean something. She's crying harder now, but he continues because if he stops, he might never start again. You asked when I last told you I loved you. I don't think I ever have, not really. Not in a way that mattered. I thought providing and protecting were enough. That you'd just know. I wanted to know. I love you. The words come out rough, unpracticed. I've loved you since our 3rd date when you laughed at my terrible attempt at cooking and ordered pizza instead. Since you fell asleep during that awful movie I picked and drooled on my shoulder. Since you looked at me like I was someone worth knowing, not just someone to fear. Her hands are shaking against his face. Why didn't you say this before? Because saying it out loud makes it real. Makes it something that can be taken away. He covers her hands with his. In my world, everything you love becomes a target. Everyone you care about becomes leverage. I thought keeping distance would keep you safe. But it just made me feel alone. I know that now. He pulls her closer, finally, after days of cold distance. I'm sorry. For walking away at the gala, for the silence, for 7 years of keeping you at arm's length while pretending everything was fine. She collapses against him, and he holds her the way he should have been holding her all along. Not carefully, not with practiced distance, but desperately. Like she's the only solid thing in a world built on shifting sand. I'm sorry too, she sobs into his chest. For the test, for not trusting what we have, for letting my insecurities almost destroy us. They stand there, wrapped around each other, as soul glitters outside. Minutes pass. Maybe hours. Time loses meaning when you're trying to put something broken back together. We can't go back to how things were, she finally says, pulling back to look at him. We have to do better. I don't know how. Neither do I. But maybe that's okay. She wipes her eyes. Maybe we figure it out as we go. Jin Woo thinks about Dr. Lee's words, about Minjun's questions, about all the ways he's failed without realizing it. Then he thinks about the alternative. Losing this woman who somehow sees past everything terrible about him to something worth loving. I'll try, he says. I'll probably mess up. I'll probably close off when things get hard. But I'll try. That's all I'm asking. She manages a real smile now. Just try. Be present. Let me in, even when it's scary. Everything about this is scary. Good. That means it matters. They don't sleep that night. Instead they talk, really talk, for the first time in years. She tells him about the months of doubt, the whispers from other wives at galas about cold marriages and loveless arrangements. He tells her about the nightmares he still has, watching his father bleed out on concrete while he stood frozen. I didn't know you had nightmares, she says softly. They're on the floor now, backs against the bed, shoulders touching. 3-4 times a week. Sometimes more when business gets dangerous. He stares at his hands. I usually go to the gym at 3 a.m. Figured it was better than waking you. I always wondered where you went. Her head rests on his shoulder. I thought maybe you had someone else. Another life I wasn't part of. There's no one else. There's never been anyone else. He turns to look at her. You're it for me. I just didn't know how to show it without feeling exposed. Morning light starts creeping through the windows. Neither of them mentions sleeping. There's too much to say, too many years of silence to make up for. Tell me about your worst day, she says suddenly. The day that made you into this version of yourself. Jinwoo tenses. Why? Because I want to understand. I want to know what you're carrying, so I can help carry it. He's quiet for so long she thinks he won't answer. Then, it was 3 months after my father died. I was trying to hold his territory together, but I was 17 and everyone knew it. This crew from Busan thought they could just take what was ours. His voice drops lower. They came to our apartment. Minjun was home alone. I'd gone to meet with suppliers. They were going to kill him to send a message. He called me, and I could hear them in the background laughing. She takes his hand, sensing what's coming. I got there in time. Barely. And I had a choice. Let them walk away and prove I was weak, or make an example that would keep Minjun safe forever. His jaw clenches. I chose the example. I became the monster they feared, and it worked. Nobody touched my brother again. How old were you? 17. Minjun was 12. She's crying again, but quietly now. You were just a kid. I couldn't afford to be a kid. So I became this instead. He gestures at himself. Someone who doesn't flinch. Someone who does what's necessary without hesitation. And you've been that person ever since. Until you. The admission costs him. You make me want to be someone different. Someone softer. But I don't know if I can be both. The man who protects you and the man who's safe enough to love. You don't have to be different people. She sits up, facing him directly. You can be both. The man who does what's necessary in your world, and the man who comes home and lets his guard down with me. They're not mutually exclusive. They feel mutually exclusive. Because you've never tried. Her voice is gentle but firm. You've kept them completely separated, like I'm living in some fantasy world that doesn't touch your reality. But I'm not fragile. I knew who you were when I married you. Did you? Because sometimes I think you married the idea of me. The legitimate businessman with the dark reputation. Not the actual violence underneath. She doesn't look away. Tell me the worst thing you've done. No. Jinwoo. I'm not bringing that darkness to you. His voice hardens. That's exactly what I'm trying to protect you from. And that's exactly the problem. She stands, frustration bleeding through. You think protecting me means hiding yourself. But it just creates distance. Makes me feel like you're living a whole life I'm not allowed to see. He stands too, old defenses rising. Some things you're better off not knowing. Stop deciding what I can handle. I'm not a child who needs to be sheltered. Her eyes flash. You want to know why I set up that test? Because I needed to see the real you. The man who acts on instinct, not calculation. And I saw him, for exactly 30 seconds before you shut down again. That man is dangerous. That man loves me. She steps closer. That's the man I want. Not the perfect ice king who keeps me in a gilded cage, but the messy, violent, complicated person underneath. All of it. Jinwoo feels something crack open in his chest. You don't know what you're asking. Then show me. Help me understand instead of shutting me out. Her hands find his chest. I'm not asking you to change. I'm asking you to include me in your actual life, not just the sanitized version you think I can handle. The resistance in him wavers. What if you can't love what you see? What if I already do? She holds his gaze. What if I've been trying to love all of you, but you only let me see part? Silence stretches between them. Outside, Seoul is waking up. Traffic building, people starting their days, the city breathing itself alive. In here, 2 people are trying to figure out how to bridge 7 years of distance. I killed 3 men in that apartment, he finally says. When they threatened Minjun. I was 17 years old, and I killed 3 men with my bare hands because they were going to hurt my brother. She doesn't flinch. Okay. That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? That I'm horrified? That I didn't know you were capable of that? She shakes her head. I married a mafia boss, Jinwoo. I'm not naive. But you treating me like I am. That's what hurts. He stares at her, this woman who somehow sees his worst and doesn't run. I don't know how to do this, he admits again. Start by staying. By not running when things get hard. 3 weeks pass. Different than before, but not magically fixed. Jinwoo still wakes at 3 a.m. with nightmares, but now she wakes with him. They sit in the kitchen drinking tea while he tells her about the dreams. His father's blood, Minjun's terrified voice, the weight of bodies he's buried. She listens without judgment, and somehow that makes it bearable. Work still demands his attention. The empire doesn't run itself. But he comes home for dinner more often, and when he can't, he texts her why. Small things. Normal things. Things that shouldn't feel revolutionary, but do. You're different, Park observes one afternoon at the office. Softer. Jin-woo's eyes narrow. Careful. I mean it as a compliment. You're still terrifying when you need to be, but you're not walking around like you're carved from ice anymore. Park grins. Marriage counseling working out? We're figuring it out. That's all he offers, but it's more than he would have said a month ago. The truth is messier than he can explain. Some days are good. She meets him for lunch, they talk about nothing and everything, he feels almost normal. Other days the walls slam back up, old habits reasserting themselves. She calls him out on it now instead of suffering in silence. You're doing it again, she says one evening. He's been home for an hour, but hasn't said more than 5 words. Doing what? Disappearing while still being here. She sets down her book. What happened today? Every instinct tells him to say nothing, to handle it himself like he always has. But he forces himself to answer. Lost a shipment to the Gwangju crew. 500,000 in product gone. That's significant. It's a message. They're testing me, seeing if I'm getting weak. He runs a hand through his hair. There'll be retaliation required. She's quiet for a moment. Are you asking my permission or telling me? I don't know. The honesty surprises him. Part of me wants to protect you from this. Part of me thinks you should know what's coming. I want to know. She moves closer. Not the details necessarily, but that it's happening. That you're dealing with something dangerous. It's always dangerous. Then I want to know that too. Her hand finds his. When you leave for these things, I want to know you might not come back. Not so I can stop you, but so I can. Her voice wavers. So I can tell you I love you in case it's the last time. Something in his chest constricts. It won't be. You can't promise that. He can't. They both know it. His world runs on violence and unpredictability, and pretending otherwise insults them both. I'll handle the Gwangju situation next week, he says quietly. It'll be dangerous. And yes, there's a chance something could go wrong. She nods, processing. Thank you for telling me. That's it. No asking me not to go. Would you listen if I did? No. Then what's the point? She manages a sad smile. I knew what I was signing up for. I just want to be included in it, not sheltered from it. The Gwangju retaliation happens on a Thursday. Jin-woo takes Park and 6 of his best men to a warehouse where the crew operates. It's supposed to be a simple message. Take back what's theirs, make an example, leave. It doesn't go simple. Someone tips off the Gwangju crew, and what should have been a straightforward confrontation turns into a firefight. Jin-woo takes a bullet to the shoulder. Park gets grazed across the ribs, and one of their men doesn't make it out. By the time they regroup at a safe house, Jin-woo's vision is blurring from blood loss. Park shoves him into a chair while someone calls their doctor. You need a hospital, Park says. Can't. Questions. Jin-woo's phone buzzes. His wife, asking when he'll be home. Don't tell her. She deserves to know. I said don't, he stops. Remembers the conversation in their kitchen. Her wanting to know when things are dangerous. His promise to include her. Give me the phone. Park hands it over, skeptical. Jin-woo hits call, and she answers on the first ring. Hey, I was just wondering. Something went wrong. His voice sounds rough even to his own ears. I'm okay, but I'm hurt. Bringing a doctor to handle it. Silence. Then, how hurt? Bullet to the shoulder. I'll live. Where are you? He gives her the address of the safe house, half expecting her to panic or demand he go to a hospital. Instead, she just says, I'm coming. You don't have to. I'm coming. Don't argue. She arrives 40 minutes later, walking into a room full of hardened criminals like she owns the place. Blood stains the floor, weapons are scattered on tables, and Jin-woo is shirtless while the doctor stitches his shoulder. She takes it all in without flinching. Everyone out, she says calmly. Park looks at Jin-woo, who nods. The room clears except for the doctor, who finishes the last stitch before leaving them alone. She approaches slowly, eyes on the wound. Does it hurt? I've had worse. That's not what I asked. She sits beside him, careful not to jostle his shoulder. Does it hurt? Yes. Her hand finds his uninjured arm. Thank you for calling me. You said you wanted to know. I did. I do. She's shaking slightly, adrenaline or fear, he can't tell. but seeing it is different than knowing about it. This is my world. This is what including you looks like. He studies her face. Still sure you want in? She meets his eyes without hesitation. I'm here, aren't I? You could leave. Go back to the penthouse to safety. I could. But then you'd be here alone, bleeding, thinking you have to handle everything yourself. She squeezes his arm gently. I'm not leaving you. Not tonight, not ever.